Gurney's dog. It's the first day of summer, the best day of the year. I awake before the sun. The house is still sleeping around me. I sit up and stretch in the chilly semi-darkness. My sister lies on the sagging mattress of an iron bed across the room, her plump arms and legs sprawled on the top of her covers. I'm freezing. She's too hot. Karen and I couldn't be more different if we tried. I turn back the flannel sheet and wool blanket in slow motion to keep the springs on my old brass bed from squawking. Karen can sleep until noon if you let her, and she can be as grouchy as a bear with a thorn in its foot if you wake her before she's ready. I wiggle into the last year's bathing suit, which is now too short. Little threads of elastic stick out where the seat has worn thin. Technically, it's still too cold for swimming, but it seems a shame not to celebrate the first day after 4th grade with a swim if it's warm up just a little. At the end of each school year, we wait for my mother to pronounce the lake warm enough for swimming. She usually does it the first day of vacation, no matter how cold the water is. Today will be the day. I pull a pair of shorts and a gray hooded sweatshirt over my bathing suit and slipped out into the upstairs hall. My father's snores rattle through the doorway of the big bedroom at the top of the stairs, and I pause outside before going down. The wooden steps groan softly under my feet, and the house seems to shift in its sleep. I creep through the living room, dining room, and kitchen and unlatch the screen door to the back porch. In the corner of the garage, my fishing rod, tackle box, net, and bucket stand, exactly where I left them last fall, seems forever ago. I run down the path to the lake, the pail banging against my bare leg. A scrim of blue mist drifts from the water to join small clouds that hover low over the skyline. The birds twitter and chirp in the tall oak and maple trees that line in the path to the dock. I tie a silver spinner onto the leader of the end of my line. A great blue heron coasts across the water to the land in the wickerweed at the edge of the lake. The sun casts a golden glow over the hills on the opposite shoreline, and it's all reflected in the still cold water. I'd rather fish with bait, but since yesterday was the last day of school, I haven't had time to hunt for worms or to look for the lone pale gray fish that hides under the rowboat. My first cast kerplucks into the lake, and there is a sharp jolt as a fish hits the lure. Rings spool out from the flashes of yellow tail and Bodie lips, and my heart lifts sharply to see such light and heat in such cold water. The fish fights hard, diving and leaping as I tried to reel him in. When I finally get him on the dock, his fins glow orange like the sunrise, and his tail flicks icy water into my face, and I unhook him. I fill the pail from the lake, put the fish in, and set it on the dock and beside me. The fish lashes around for a minute, and then lies still, his fins feathering the little water ferns beneath him. The next 2 casts yield 2 more perch, but then the fish stop going for the lure. I watch the silver beads in the little spoon swivel silently through the clear green water a couple of dozen times more. Before I set the rod aside, I hang my bare legs over the edge of the dock. I imagine myself spending most mornings this summer with my feet dangling off the dock, my dog stretched out beside me on the rough planks. He is black and tan, with long silky fur and a big pink tongue and chocolate brown eyes. His name is Jeff. He rests his chin between his front paws and looks up to me, wagging his fluffy tail. I don't actually have this dog yet, but I know exactly what he looks like, and I've been thinking about how to get him. I need a dog because I don't have any real friends. Occasionally my mother arranges for her friend, Mrs. Matisse, also known as Aunt Dorothy, to bring her daughter Carol over to play with me. Carol is talented. She loves to sing and act, to perform for an audience. She doesn't like to fish. Or my brother tells Miss Van Wert I'll stop to play mumblety-peg with her son, Dale. Dale has cerebral palsy, and he can't go for walks in the woods. I like Dale, but I'm not crazy about playing mumbly peg with him, which involves throwing a knife so its point sticks to the ground, and after a while I look for excuses to leave. Sometimes Patty Moore comes when her mother visits my mother. She and Karen like to play with dolls, and I lose interest, although I love Patty. I don't want to grow up without the gift of friendship. My mother says when I complain about her arranging for people to be my playmates, she and my father worry that I prefer to be alone, but the truth isn't so simple. Karen and my older brother Bobby have friends from school who live near us, but none of my classmates live anywhere near where our house sits. On the south end of Chatton Lake, in the wooded rolling hills of northeastern Pennsylvania. Secretly, I longed for a friend. When I was younger, I invented a playmate, Judy, whom I adored. She was my constant companion. Judy was not tall and gawky like me. I have what Bobby calls bird legs, and I wear my stick-straight hair caught back in the sides of the barrettes. Judy was petite and dimpled, with cascades of blonde curls. She was sweet and cuddly, and like me, she loved secrets. I told her everything. I don't remember exactly when Judy abandoned me. It may have been the summer I turned 7 and lost interest in dolls. It was the first year I was allowed to ride a bicycle on my own. It was the year I discovered the mysteries of the woods and the depths of the lake and the beauty of the fish and birds. I don't think Judy shared my passions any more than Dale or Carol did. I play a lot of pretend games as I fish and walk along trails through the primeval forest that begins at the edge of our garden. I daydream about having adventures in far-off places. I keep my ears tuned for exotic names. Srinagar, Shanghai, Istanbul, Casablanca. I love these words. Last summer, my grandmother, Mima Fisher, was visiting for a couple weeks. One evening, she sat on the sofa crocheting black squares with bright-colored centers. My little brother Charlie sat next to her, watching her fingers fly over the woolen yarn. The rest of us were scattered about the room. I had been reading. "What's that?" I asked about the squares she'd sewn together